What am I going to hit first? I think I'm going to do Wayward first. So Wayward is, at this point, a single season on Netflix. It should be out by the time this comes out or within a day or so. I think it's coming out this Friday, the 12th, on Netflix. A brand new series. And by the looks of it, it's probably designed to have more seasons, which to me is somewhat of a disadvantage, although we'll get into it in a second here. The most notable person in this series is going to be Toni Collette. In fact, on the cover, or not the cover, the poster, the promo materials, you see her prominently displayed. Toni Collette plays Evelyn Wade. Other characters in this are Mae Martin is playing Alex. Laura is played by Sarah Gadon. I'm terrible always. Layla is played by Alvia Ann Lind, sorry. And Abby is played by Sydney Toplife. Now, basic concept of this, first of all, I really like movies and TV series to some degree, but I really like movies where there's like a weird town or strangers are traveling on a trip somewhere and they end up in an odd village and everyone's acting a little strange. You're not sure what's going on, but there's something's afoot. And, that mystery and the oddness of the town will be revealed. Old movies that I really liked like that were like Dead and Buried, which you never hear talked about, which I think I need to bring up one of these days. Dead and Buried. Oh, Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man is somewhat like that too. There's a bunch of movies and things like that. I really enjoy that kind of a thing. And this has a bit of that. So you've got a young couple, and that is Alex and Laura, and she's very pregnant, and they are coming into this town of Tall Pines. Tall Pines, did they say where this was at? I thought they said Vermont. Vermont, that's right. Tall Pines, Vermont. And they arrive, it's like this perfect town, and you find out really quickly, and he's going to be a police officer in the town, and she, like I said, is very pregnant, and she was a graduate of this academy that they have in town. It's kind of an academy in the sense of academy, quote, for troubled youth. You know how you have these kind of retreats for troubled kids? They might send them to a camp for the summer where they have to maybe rough it out in the forest and they have to learn about the hardness of life, but they also learn self-reliance and responsibility and things like that. So it's a combination of kind of a rehab-ish sort of a thing. It's got troubled kids. They're maybe going to hopefully learn how to better cope with society, that kind of a thing. She's a graduate of that. She's in her probably early 30s. They're going to have a kid. And you find out really quickly, something's a little odd about this because they've been given this house by the academy. The academy has let them have this house, this really nice old house. And the first thing they notice when they get there, Alex notices that there's no doors. There's no doors on any of the rooms or any of the hinges. Why is there no doors? And then she kind of, pushes it off as no big deal. It's just, don't worry about it. That kind of a thing. And as they slowly kind of explore the town, you get hints that something's a little off. It's a little too idyllic. Everyone's a little too friendly. It's a little too small town America. There's got to be another shoe that's going to drop here. And that's kind of your basic setup on that side of the story. The other side of the story are two young friends that live in Canada, and that is Layla and Abby. And Layla and Abby are kind of getting into trouble, and you probably see where this is going. But especially her sister died when she was young, and since then she's kind of become really kind of gone sort of in the bad side of things. She's interested in dating this older dude. She's 15, and some guy maybe in her 20s, and she's doing drugs, and she's just not caring about school anymore and kind of getting in trouble, but nothing extreme, but she's definitely heading down a bad path. And Abby's her best friend, so Abby's coming along for the ride, and Abby's parents are very concerned that her relationship with Layla is going to cause her to, go a bad place. So very quickly, Abby is essentially kidnapped. I don't know what you want to say. She's basically taken against her will to the Tall Pines Academy, where she immediately has to learn about life in the incarcerated for your own good Tall Pines Academy. And that's your two basic storylines. You've got Abby, and let's say, I'll even tell you, Abby and eventually Layla dealing with the Tall Pines Academy and the rules and the structures and the mysteries there and what kind of nefarious stuff may or may not be going on in the Tall Pines Academy. And then the other side is you've got the Alex and Laura young couple also with Tall Pines, the town, and their relationship with Tall Pines Academy. And Alex especially starting to get more and more suspicious what is actually going on in this town and what is actually happening at this Tall Pines Academy. Now, within all of that, you're going to say, well, where's Toni Collette? Well, Toni Collette, no surprise, probably can figure this out, is the head of Tall Pines Academy. And of course, you can imagine her charisma here is definitely closer to the hereditary side of things than to the happy mom, or not happy mom, but I guess kind mom in Sixth Sense side of things. She's not as off the rails as the mom in Hereditary, but she has some moments that are definitely on the edge of that. And the whole vibe of this place, like the whole vibe of the show, is somewhere between, it's a little bit of Lord of the Flies and a little bit of Cuckoo's Nest. And I think it wants to have a little bit of Twin Peaks too. There's some odd humor and quirky folk kind of stuff. That part doesn't work quite as well because anytime you kind of try to do a little bit of David Lynch, it's almost impossible to pull that off unless you're David Lynch, and we don't have David Lynch anymore. So what was my reaction to this? On the good side, I would say up until about episode 4 and 5, I was probably about episode 5 or 6, actually. There's only 8 episodes. Up until about the 6th episode, I was just really quite enjoying and maybe even almost loving this. Definitely, it gets to a point in episode 5 where I was like, this is just getting really good. I'm really engaged in all the characters. The mystery part of it is good. But even if the mystery isn't fully solved, there's enough meat on the bones here that what I do know is engaging, and I'm rooting for these characters to, prevail over the situation they're in. Specifically, the younger characters, the Layla and Abby, are very likable. And also kind of all of the menagerie of students at this academy. And unlike, it's not a weirdo academy like you get in something like Wednesday, which is its own appeal, but it's much more of a, hey, us against them kind of a thing, more of a Cuckoo's Nest kind of an idea, like I said. So that part is, I think, really for me easy to engage in, where you've kind of got, I guess the downtrodden fight against authority kind of aspect going on. And I thought that was really good. The negative side of this is it's if you're watching a race and you're leading the race and you have the fastest car on the track, you're just smoking everybody. And then the last lap, your wheel goes flying off and you skid across the finish line. It's a little bit like that, where it felt like the last 2 episodes started explaining stuff very quickly, and certain character changes and things happened that I wouldn't say they were unearned, but they turned and resolved and went in directions that I felt should have developed more fully instead of just kind of happening. And it feels to me like, from a writer's sense or a production sense, like maybe they didn't believe they're going to get a second season here, so they almost crammed a second season's worth of material into the last 2 or 3 episodes, just in case they could kind of at least get that stuff done. Almost like the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. That had a little bit of that too, where they had a whole bunch of ideas, but they knew they weren't going to get all the seasons to do it, so they just started cramming stuff into multiple things into one episode. I kind of felt like that here, where everything was developing and really deepening as the series went, but by the final 2 episodes, rush towards not a conclusion, because this does leave it open-ended for you to have an ongoing series. But I would say specifically the character of Laura and what happens with Abby and Layla, those stories made turns in the last 2 episodes that I thought was really fast and much, much less satisfying than the first 6 episodes were. Now, on the other hand, I'm really annoyed in some of these series where everything is milked out for so long, like it just takes seasons and seasons to get anywhere. And you're like, they're just milking it to get more episodes. And I don't want that. But also you want the story to really earn what it's built up to so far. And I feel like that's where this kind of fell off a little bit. So where by the 5th episode, I felt like I was at least a 4, if not a 4.5 stars on this show. At this point, I'm probably going to go 3.5 stars because, like I said, the first 5 to 6, I'm kind of a little bit on the fence on episode 6, but the first 5 or 6 episodes were so strong and I became so interested in even the side characters and so invested that I was just loving it. But those last 2 fell off so much that it drops it down, probably at least a full star for me. So I'm going to go 3.5 stars for Wayward. I think it's still worth your time. It's pretty bingeable. It is only 8 episodes. I would say as a barometer for you, if you make it through maybe 2 episodes and you're not feeling it, you probably won't. But I think it takes a couple episodes to kind of get the tone and to get the full situation so you really know where you're at. And I would feel like if you're on board at that point, I think it's worth the ride. I mean, my wife and I think we watched the whole thing in like 2 days. We probably could have watched it in 1 if we were really ambitious, but I think 2 days. So.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.